Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Adams Predicts Poetry. This video is going to be looking at the AQA Love and Relationships anthology. We'll have a little look at everything that's come up so far and on the specimens, see if we can spot any trends or patterns, and then give you a little bit of a steer with your revision. But please, as always, do be aware we don't have crystal balls, so make sure you're revising broadly and widely. That being said, let's get started. Okay, so last year was a nice one. We got neutral tones, powerful feelings, which we were sort of expecting maybe to have something about, love, like loss of love and kind of like falling apart in that way. Year before that, we had Parents and Children with Before You Were Mine. And then we had 2 years of Power of Love, romance with Sonnet 29 and The Farmer's Bride. And then you can see back and forward, we've had like this combo of family relations versus romance. So, they haven't kind of deviated from that. That's not to say that they won't. For example, you might end up with something about like memories, especially because, there's a lot of the sort of parent, grandparent side of things, like reflecting back, and you've got certain poems that do sort of like fit into that idea, like we could have, for example, Eden Rock, Climbing My Grandfather. I've kind of like just sort of plonked these in sort of sections. So the ones that we haven't had that are more kind of like family based, memories, reflections of families, and then some of the kind of loved ones that we haven't had. I think When We Two Parted perhaps is slightly less likely, but again, nothing's off the table. I'm just thinking like neutral tones is also about like parting relationships. Porphyria's Lover is definitely a shout with a kind of more negative depiction of love. And I wondered about love's philosophy as well, and the kind of the tying together of nature and love. The other thing to be aware of, right, is these two poems, Sonnet 29 and The Farmer's Bride, those are in the COVID years where the poetry was a choice. So actually they haven't been examined thoroughly. So if AQA did want to repeat a poem, which we know they have done because they did it in the conflict collection, they've repeated Charge of the Light Brigade, and they've repeated the sample. So Aussie was the sample, and then they did it 2 years later. So for example, those two might be a shout. And actually that specimen one follower, especially if they do go down the kind of memory route or the reflections on a father figure or reflections on a parent, that would then make sense going up with these. Just some thoughts for you. Make sure, of course, that you've got a really solid grounding with all of these poems so that you're prepared no matter what comes up. Okay, that's it from me. Hopefully that helped. Do subscribe, do share the video if you're finding it useful. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching and happy revising.